Then we're gonna get our capo, our handy capo, put that on that 6 spread. And get this beautiful sound here.
Hi everyone, my name is Araceli, aka Chelly, and today on Chelly's Mental Wealth, I'm gonna be interviewing Eli.
Hey!
I know some of you may know who Eli is, but I do want him to introduce himself so that you guys can get to know him and see what his background is. So hopefully you can really take in what the information he's going to provide and the questions that I'm going to ask him, because they're very, very personal. And hopefully by him answering some of these questions, it can help out anyone who's dealing with maybe the same barriers or may have in the past.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Well, thank you for having me, being here in Griffith Park. It's so soothing. Like,
Yes.
I'm such a horrible Los Angelino who like says I hike, but you really hike like once a month. Like, that's kind of the reality of it. My name is Eli Vazquez. I'm a video producer for PeroLike, which is BuzzFeed's Latinx brand. It's fantastic. I'm also a filmmaker. I create films, and I have my own social brand, which is called Self Hype, where it's all things personal development and how to unapologetically love yourself in the digital space. So.
And I love that. And that's the reason why I connected with Eli, because I really liked his programs and I really liked the message that he was trying to provide for the Latino community, Latinx community, to just kind of show like what we're capable of doing in any type of industry, whether it's mental health, media, entertainment, medical, whatever it is, but we could do it together, working as a team. So I'm going to ask him a few questions, and so we're going to see what he says.
What am I gonna say?
What is he gonna say? Okay, so my first question that I had for Eli was, how did you grow up learning about mental health? Example, like your family, the society, and just the outside resources that you were provided while you were growing up. And how was your experience?
Jeez, there was no experience or any education or anything really. Like, I grew up in Southside Chicago, Northwest Indiana. If you guys don't know Northwest Indiana, it's like it's the most diverse county. Northwest Indiana, Lake County is the most diverse in the state of Indiana, and it's the least funded. Shocker. Governor was Mike Pence, so we kind of knew he sucked before anyone else did. But yeah, so that was like I grew up in the hood, you know, so like the idea of that wasn't really there. My mom had me when she was only like 19. My dad was 17. So even them, they didn't really have a space of personal development, of mental health within themselves. So we were all kind of growing up together. So when it came to dealing with like my frustrations or my anger or whatever else, it was not productive. And it wasn't until my adulthood where I got to really start questioning mental health or realizing what it is. Because Latin families, you hear it all the time. It's like, you're crazy. Like, if you got to go to therapy, you're nuts.
Yeah.
Or like, what's wrong with you? Or what did I do wrong? Like, that's a big
deal. But I had it worse than you. What are
you so
exactly.
worried about? Like, why are you complaining? Why are you complaining for? Your life is great. You have no reason to complain. There you go. It's the struggle. It's the struggle for sure. But yeah, that was big issue, especially as like a guy in that kind of environment. Like, luckily I was like a really nerdy kind of shy kid, so I didn't really get into trouble too much, but it was just me just kind of stuck with like my thoughts and my feelings and my frustrations, and it was not productive.
Well, let me ask you a quick question in regards to that, because it kind of reminds me of just while working in the field, when people are into their thoughts a lot. Did you ever experience suicidal thoughts during that time period, because you were so because when we do that, we suppress.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I'm curious, did you, by any chance throughout your life, did you ever have those
Man, I was like a really like depressed, sad kid. And I never got to the point of suicidal. I think like depressing emo kids, we flirt with the idea, but it never turned into like physical abuse. I think the worst I ever got, I would like, out of frustration, I would like punch myself in the face. Like, I would get really angry and just like do this, like the punch in the face. And like, I look back on that and it was like so much rage and hormones and like emotion that I didn't know what to do with. And also like, it turned into a big Latin family, so I was the oldest. So not like, no one was really looking at me. No one was really paying attention to me. They were busy with all these other kids. So I was very much stuck within my own emotions. So it got really dark. I got pretty lonely, and there's a lot of moments where I was like very depressed, and like but no one really wanted to acknowledge that in my family. I don't know if it was like a Latin thing or whatever, but it's like, Eli's such a quiet, sad kid. I remember my dad.
So they didn't know that you were sad, but they didn't know it was.
They didn't know the severity of it. They just thought I was shy. They just thought I was like a quiet, shy kid. And I think in hindsight, I think they probably realized that. But it's a hard thing to like.
It's kind of hard to just even address. It kind of go up to the person and be like, "Are you sad?" That's something I had to teach teach families like how to just ask the person, or how to just respond when someone actually says I'm suicidal, or I feel like dying, or I hate myself. Those are just feelings that some people might say, and hopefully by sharing these types of stories like what Eli's saying, it will make it more comfortable for people to actually have the conversation and ask, are you suicidal? Do you have a plan? I'm gonna do a video on that soon.
That's deep.
I am.
That's fantastic.
People have been asking for that video on Instagram, so I'm gonna do one so I can educate and teach people of a program that people can attend.
Nice.
Yeah, and any nonprofit can do that. Anyone. And you can also attend to one if you find one around your area. I think you have to pay a certain co-fee, but
that's fantastic.
It is.
Yeah.
Super. It taught me a lot. Yeah.
That's the beauty about these channels and these spaces is that we're able to reflect back, and like we can easily talk about what we know now, skills to use, but like there's something really impactful about, like, you asked me these questions even about my upbringing. I'm like, oh god, that was really hard. Oh, that was really impactful.
Think about, right?
Like, what would I do with the knowledge that I have now in those spaces when I didn't have that education of it? So that's really impactful and important.
Thank you for explaining that. The next question that I have for Leah was, did you ever experience child or teen or even just adult trauma? How did he overcome it?
Right.
What was your process?
This is you weren't messing around with the questions. This is some deep stuff. No, I would say nothing. That's the interesting thing about being in these spaces. Like you grow up in the hood, you grow up in like rough beginnings, you grow up with like young parents. Like, I've never been like physically abused or in any type of way other than getting my ass whooped, but like I think that's like a pretty universal
that's what
thing.
I'm saying though, but you're downplaying it.
And then we downplay it.
People,
yeah.
No, they should not get it. We shouldn't have gotten our ass whipped.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing because it's such a normal, like, if everyone could say, "Oh, I got my ass whooped," and it's almost like a badge of honor of getting your ass whooped. So it's like it's an issue if you didn't get your ass whooped. Yeah, my dad was like such an enforcer, so he wasn't around. He was very much like living his own life.
Yeah.
So when it came to parenting, it was very much like my mom picking up the phone and like, "Hey, your son's doing this," and that's when you freak out because you know your dad's gonna come over to kick your ass. So it was a lot of ass whoopings through my dad, and it was like, and then it's like, my stepdad was a dick to me, and like, but like he just trolled me a lot. Like he's never like.
I always try to justify that. I'm like, I tell people that an adult should not make fun of a teen unless you know their boundaries or they understand that you're messing around or you're being sarcastic or like, hey, when I do this, it's because I'm playing around. But a lot of the times adults, they just do it and they do it and they do it and they do it. Yeah. Because I think us as adults, we bust our balls, right? Like I think the guys have that culture where you guys are just talking baloney and you're just, whatever. And when an adult does it to a young boy who's not used to it, it's kind of, sometimes they don't know how to perceive it.
Especially a stepdad who's like a dick.
Yeah,
like that's the whole other thing. Like you don't like him and he's like doing that. No, but he would be an asshole to me. Like he would get water and splash it on my crotch while I'm sleeping, just so it looked like I peed. He would get water and throw it over the shower.
That's trauma.
And I'm like, I didn't ask for any of this. And it's something that still sticks with me. It's a very particular thing. Is that I hate pepperoni pizza now. Like a sausage pizza. Sorry, I hate sausage pizza, and I get turned off with people that like sausage pizza because growing up we always got pizza, but he never got anything but sausage. And I said, I don't like sausage pizza. We get like 5 pizzas, and all of them are sausage, and he always says, pick them out. And I'm like, we can't get one small pepperoni pizza. And so to this day, I see sausage pizza and I have a disdain for it. It triggers me and it pisses me off. So it's like I had so much anger and rage, like between like my dad not being around and then my stepdad and like my mom being too busy, and it all like it very much like it just built this like anger of motivation where I remember saying that because my stepdad, he very much like favored his kids over me. And I remember saying, like, I'm going to be so successful when I grow up that you are going to regret ever being a dick to me. And I'm pretty sure your kids aren't even going to talk to you. And they're not going to be as dope as I am. And fast forward, it very much got to a point where he finally apologized, like, when I graduated college. And he saw all the achievements that I was having. And he's like, hey, man, I'm sorry. And it was very much a time in my life that I want to let go of all the trauma. Like, I want to bury all the hatchets. Like, I had real conversations with my father. With my stepdad apologized to me. I didn't want to carry any weight going into my adulthood. And so that was really impactful. And now I'm in LA living my best life. And like, I feel bad for him now. So it's like, it's very much like I feel for him now. Cause like it really takes like a certain kind of individual to do those actions and to feel that way to a kid. It's like, rather than seeing, oh, this is the woman I love's son, let me respect this person, versus having anger towards them and being a dick to them. So it's all their own personal trauma bestowing down to me as the oldest of very young parents.
Yeah.
So,
and I want to highlight the fact that he was able to have those conversations with his dad and your stepdad, because a lot of people struggle with those type of conversations.
Seriously,
so I praise you for that you
were
like, you know what, I know this is gonna follow me if I don't have these conversations, and it's going to be in the back of my mind. It's not going to make me be successful in life.
It's a weight. You're carrying a weight. And I didn't want anger and rage to be my motivation anymore. It's like I felt like I did it. I felt like I accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish, and now I was doing it for me. Like, I remember my mom and my grandma telling me, like, now this is for you. Like, don't do it for anyone else, like, but yourself. Like, and that's what was really impactful. So I was like, I'm not going to, because that weight will mess with you some way, somehow. And it's crazy. It's like a relationship. Like, you don't realize how toxic a relationship is, how heavy a relationship is, until it's over. And then you're like, oh my God, I feel like I lost 20 pounds. Was I living like this for a year? Oh my God. It's like it's the same stuff with the drama and then the issues with your family. Like, those are the things you have to deal with. So it's really impactful.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that you guys hearing Eli say this, it'll motivate everybody to
have those conversations.
Have those conversations, okay?
Yeah, even if they aren't receptive to it, at least you said it and you tried.
And
I think that's the big thing.
That's my biggest thing that I tell everyone. Okay, so the next question that I have for Eli is, how was crying perceived in your household while growing up, and what are your thoughts about crying now?
Interesting. Yeah, crying was definitely seen as a sign of weakness. Crying was, for men, it's just awkward. Like, the funny thing is, like, as much as my dad whooped my ass, he was the more emotional one versus my mom.
Interesting.
Yeah, so like, I'm half Mexican, half Puerto Rican. So like, my Puerto Rican side will hug, we'll kiss on the cheek, we'll say I love you. My mom was very very awkward emotionally. So like, I didn't see her cry a lot, but when she did, I knew it was a big deal. And I knew that's when I felt bad. And I never seen my dad cry or any of the men in my life cry or anything like that. But I think something.
Sorry, you guys. So I had to cut it off. I had technical difficulties, but Eli's going to continue with what he was saying in regards to crying.
Crying, yes, crying. What is crying? Tears from the eyes. No, So I don't know. I felt awkward about it. I wanted to keep it in, and I remember in my early years when I did cry, I did feel like a sense of relief, but still was like, it's like a scary place to go, and it's very much a private place to go. Like, you're not gonna let anyone see you cry. So if it was gonna happen, I was like, okay, am I letting myself get to this point? And I really felt like, okay, this is like a last resort kind of thing. But I always felt better after. But it was a very private thing. Wow.
You see, that's what's so interesting, because since I cry for everything, it's so hard for me to, like, when I tell people, like, just cry, and they're like, no, I'm not, and I only cry once a year, or if I do, it's because it's a combination of things, and I'm ready to just let everything out. And it's once a year.
Once a year?
Once a year.
Oh,
One person that I've spoken to, they said that, and I was like, whoa.
I don't not want to hang out with them that day. I was like, this is my day. I'm home alone. I'm closing all the blinds. That's wild. But the interesting thing is, with crying now is, like, I still kind of feel that way.
You still feel a little ashamed. Do you feel like they're ashamed?
There's a little bit of a shame, and I feel like it's an overreaction, or I feel like I'm like, what the hell's wrong with me? Why am I doing this? And it is still a private thing. I'm a little more comfortable with it. Like, I'm letting myself become more emotional. Like, I remember last year I finally stated, I'm an emotional guy. Like, that line alone. That was hard for you? That was hard. And like, a lot of women were like, you're so emotional. You're like, I'm not emotional, whatever. I'm not emotional. And I finally was like, I'm an emotional guy. And that was such a big step, just like addressing that and admitting, like, I'm an emotional guy. Because it is seen as like a weakness thing, like your crazy thing, like your soft thing. I think if you change the word to an emotional person, you won't get so stuck on guy. Oh, emotional person, yeah. Just say I'm an emotional person. And that's a good way to look at it. And so like, the last couple of years I've been more open with crying and tearing up, and like there's a lot of moments that I'm watching a movie or watching something or a YouTube video, and I'm like, oh my god, and I'm more open to share though. Like I remember being a kid, and the first movie I cried to was Moulin Rouge, and I was like,
the movie,
yeah, you know how depressing that was.
It was really, because I was so caught up on the music and the dancing
and
that
Kidman.
But yeah, it was a pretty.
Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Moulin Rouge.
It is a sad story. I forgot.
Yeah, she dies at the end, and I was just like, I was so captivated by the music and the vibes and all that, and then she passes away and she dies, and I was just like, I was bawling. I was just a mess. And there's certain movies that hit that.
Like the Gatsby, I don't know if I said it right. Like the Great Gatsby, where he dies at the end.
Great Gatsby. Gatsby? Is it Gatsby? Great Gatsby. Gatsby. I don't know. Whatever.
But you know what's interesting is like when I watched the video he did with his dad with the letters. Oh man.
Yeah, so there's certain moments where like I cry and like or experience a deep emotional like something in me.
Yeah.
And I'm very much realizing like how beautiful it is to flex this ability as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a beautiful thing, and like to not do that is I think is very like negative and counterproductive to the human experience. I think it's like it's kind of like we're able to play or we're able to move and walk and run. It's another thing, just an extension of that is to be able to feel and cry.
Yeah.
Like that's such a beautiful thing to be able to experience, and it's a part of the life experience. And that's something that I'm really like I tell people too is like when I say self-hype, everyone thinks it's like, yeah, motivation, be on it every day of the week. I'm like, no, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to feel, and it's okay to go through those negative emotions, and because we're human beings, and we need to express it. So I'm very much like I let myself feel more. So, but crying still hasn't.
Do you feel like once you start letting it feel more, you're more inclined to do that whole hitting thing like you were saying?
Yeah, I haven't done that since I was a kid, like teenager, and
as an adult, has it ever came to you like, oh, I'm gonna I have that feeling of doing it, but I'm not?
Man, there's times of like, very much stress and anger, but I think back to those times of like, oh shit, I used to like actually like fucking punch myself in the head. And I'm like, that's crazy to me that I would do that. But I still like, there's times where I do still feel that strong emotional feelings, but I've been able to at least figure out more healthy ways into dealing with it. So it's like, okay, today's gonna suck. Sometimes you gotta be like, today's gonna suck.
Yeah.
Today sucks, and I just need to eat my ice cream and go to sleep.
Yeah,
work through it and just get it done.
Tomorrow's a brighter new day.
And like knowing that like I know today sucks. I've been here before. I know what this is like. I know the emotions that I have to go through, and I know tomorrow I'll be better.
That's a good way of seeing it. The way I know that this is
It's like because we've been through it over and over and over again. Like we know what our dark days are like. We know each other at a certain point. So, and that's the good thing about being in my later 20s is that like I'm not stumbling on myself anymore. Like I have enough data to look at like how I react to things and what I am and what I'm about, and just kind of owning that. And just being more productive and more healthy in doing those things of what I am and how I work, I think has helped.
He basically built his self-awareness. That's why I'm always self-awareness is key.
Yes.
Self-awareness is key.
Self-awareness is so key. It's wild that we live in a world that so many people don't have that.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness, communication and relationships, business, everything else. Like, oh my God, Suzanne, who's just like microwaving fish in the middle of the day, and she just doesn't understand that stinks up the whole office. I'm like, come on, Suzanne, what the hell? Like, are you not self-aware that this is a terrible thing to do? It's disgusting. Jesus.
Or at least word put aside.
Yeah, I'm like, just don't. Good God. Bring sushi at least. It'll just smell.
Yeah, well, some sushi does smell.
Yeah.
But okay, so I'm gonna go on to the next question. So the next question would be, did your family members ever utilize any mental health resources throughout your life? And this could be like counseling, coaching, it could be family therapy, it could be anything that has to do with life.
That's the thing. I was the oldest, so I was all the mistakes. I was the test dummy for everything. So it's great now because I have all my siblings, and my mom very much is like trying. So like my one of my sisters was diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia when she was 7. She beat it. She's 18 now. But I think through that development process, like having cancer at such a young age, there's a lot of like emotions and feelings and like overwhelmingness. So she goes to therapy. My mom's very open-minded to that whole process. Like as she's gotten older, as she's been able to raise more kids, she's been more open to like therapy and mental health and counseling and everything else. And like she goes herself for like her relationship. So but growing up for myself personally, that wasn't really there. We kind of just had Jesus. Like it's very much like Jesus figures it all out. Like if you're stressed or sad, pray. That's the thing.
And if you make the wrong decision,
yeah,
the devil.
You're dying in hell. You're gonna burn in hell for the rest of your life. And as a teenager, it's like, if you think about boobs, Eli, you will burn in hell forever. It was the most stressful years of my life. What? It was awful. I had such a terrible experience. This is a whole other conversation, but my Catholic. I went to this hardcore old school Mexican Catholic church.
But for school related, it was school.
Oh no, we just went on Sunday. But I did what I had to do, the Sunday school and everything else. And I was very much a curious guy. I was like, where are the dinosaurs at? In class. Oh. And they're all volunteers. It's the hood. Eli, shut up and just listen so you could get your communion and eat the bread and all that. And it was just so much stress with the church.
It makes me laugh because I remember when I was a kid, I was in Catholic.
Yeah.
And I would always be like, Mom, but it just doesn't make sense. But Mom, and I'll be like, but why? Why?
Yeah.
And I remember just asking why, because, and that's it. And I was
exactly. You put them against the wall.
For me.
Faith, Eli. That's why you have faith. Once their back is against the wall, they just say you have to have faith. But it was through those years, I was very much pray. That's the end all be all of fixing something. Yeah. And it's and I was conflicted in that space. So I'm I prayed, I tried, but it was but also you hate me because I looked at boob photos. I'm I can't win here. I can't talk to anybody. It's awful. But
the only thing that I do want to make it clear is that I don't we're not trying to say that we're not disregarding praying, because I feel like praying is a good coping skill, and I think if you learn how to pray in a way where you're manifesting things instead of asking and just kind of I feel it, I know, I'm staying positive. Praying is a good thing, but I don't think that it should just be the core thing of you being able to overcome certain mental barriers that praying may not help. You have to talk to someone.
Exactly, you have to communicate.
Get some feedback.
And that's so praying or meditation or whatever, it's all very validating in the sense of I understand how prayer works. I've seen it. My mom is still very religious, and it's helped her get through a lot of dark times. Yeah. And it's but it's interesting to know that by taking time with ourselves and being in tune with ourselves, or speaking to a greater power, or energy, or universe, it very much helps us get centered. But also you need to get that out with another human being and validate those concerns with another person. And be able to openly communicate, and that's a skill in itself, is just the communication with other people, how you're feeling. It's so important. So I would just hold stuff in all the time. I would go MIA and just hold my emotions in and just be angry, and then just let it just digest.
Would people check in with you hey Eli, we noticed you haven't been coming around?
Oh, what church? Father Juana's where the hell are you at? They would be hey, are you okay? Because I'm an extroverted guy. I could talk, I give a lot of energy, and then when I'm feeling down, again, I'm an emotional person. I retract and I just want to be alone, and I'm deep in my thoughts, and I'm sad, and I'm angry and frustrated. So it's very people notice that. But I very much am the person that has the self-hype nature of I think that's kind of where the self-hype all came about, is being very alone, used to being alone, and having myself to be my hype person. Yeah,
not rely on other people. Self-hype, I understand what you're saying. It's kind of you're self-hyping yourself, kind of saying no, I'm good and I can do this, or yes, I look a certain way, but I can do this, or I can do that, or I do this, but I can do this better. And hyping yourself up. I always say, I was I'll be your hype woman and stuff, but because I've noticed that I like to hype people, but I was I don't hype myself.
Yeah, that's so important.
I don't hype myself, and my supervisor has brought it up to me. There's a few people that have been why are you so hard? Why? And I'm I don't know. And I was it's my self-esteem. I need to really work on I know what I'm doing, or X, Y, and Z.
Exactly. And it's so important for business, work, relationships. It's we know each other. We know our own stories the most.
Yes.
We know the most validation out of anyone else. But we are also our own worst enemy. Yeah. So it's a constant battle within ourselves, where if you could create processes and designs and tactics to hype yourself or to validate yourself, and I always say I always break down and write down your defining moments in your life, because our mind plays tricks on us when we're trying to do something big, or when we're feeling scared, or the imposter syndrome. But we have this data, this factual data, that our minds can't play tricks on, of these defining moments that we've been able to get through and been able to progress from. And I kind of turn that into no one can do like me statements. So if I'm about to go into an interview or speak to a client or do whatever else, I then say, no one can do it like me. No one could go through the issues that I've been through and be here today and do these things. And your mind can't refute that because it's real. And everyone has their own story, which is so impactful and so empowering. Like, you've dealt with things I've never dealt with. I've dealt with things you never dealt with.
that I've never.
And that's that's a pretty dope, customized like life resume that you could look back on. And I think it's a dope thing to have.
Yeah,
So.
I agree. So we're gonna go on to the next question. So the next question is, how did you feel when you did a therapy session with PeroLike? If you guys seen that one, if not, I'm gonna link it down below so you guys can watch it. Okay. And on their YouTube channel, what was your before and after results?
Man,
Because I realized it was kind of hard for you.
That was the interesting thing. It was hard. It was my idea.
Yeah.
It was my idea. Me and Maya produced it, and it was like this was one of the first videos I wanted to do when I got on the team. I was like, I want to do mental health, men, Latino men, therapy. That would be dope. And that was more so like I want to do it for myself as well.
We just have to run to therapy when we're bleeding. If we do the work before we get to that point, then there's no need to run to the ER.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Felt like I made it out, like I did it, something. Like, oh God, okay, I made it through the race.
So for some context, so like a couple years ago, I was at like my lowest low. I was working at BuzzFeed, I was creating digital content, I was doing that, but I just felt so stuck and trapped where like student loans were a thing. Like you kind of realize like, oh shit, this is what I got into a big company so quickly that I was very I was overly thankful and I was too kind of quiet, and I thought this space was bigger than me. And especially having a Latin family, they say, oh, you did it, stay there forever. But you're not happy, you want more, you want to progress, you want to take chances. But so I felt very trapped, like I was just stuck in this position in my life forever, and I just sank deeper and deeper and deeper and just didn't take care of myself, had a terrible mindset. And this was the first time ever I started getting panic attacks. And I remember just laying on the ground, grabbing my chest, trying to breathe. And I'm like, I know I have to make a change. And so that's when I started kind of shifting my mindset. I started investing in like self-help books. I started filling up my social media with so the algorithm could show me good things and not distractions.
It does.
Yeah. So it's like, and then I invested in the people around me, and it was like a years long process of personal development and getting to this point in my life where I finally reached kind of the road where I didn't know where to go from here. Like it was that next step that I knew therapy was that next step. I knew therapy was that next step. And it was a scary one. I was scared. I was doing all this personal development. I was being very open in my process, but it was something about therapy and the fear of therapy and what was going to open up. And I explained it to the therapist is like, I'm afraid that because I am the oldest and I have a lot of weight on my shoulders, that I'm afraid that what this is going to do is going to dismantle all the work that I've done. Like, I feel like my foundation is popsicle sticks and Elmer's glue, and I've been able to sustain that with all this stuff and all this weight. So I'm afraid by doing this therapy, it's going to knock out my foundation, and I'm going to just not be productive and not be able to be the person I want to be. But doing it, I've been able to, actually the opposite. So it was actually so it was my idea. I was like, I brought Curly, I brought Gadiel, and Gadiel was like, I don't know. And Curly's like, I don't know. And they just opened up. And it was my idea, and I was like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to be open. And I was just like,
and then just scared.
I was scared. I very much she was so great at just pinpointing me and pushing me up against the wall. And and she's like, why are you looking away? Why are you smiling? Why are you cracking jokes for? Why are you doing all these things? And I'm like, I'm pulling out every tool out of my bag that I didn't even know I had tool bags to get out of this awkward situation of displaying my issues and displaying of what I need to work on. And it was incredibly uncomfortable. So it was a dance. She very much said it was a dance, and it was like you're in and out and in and out. And so it was pretty wild to see. And I kind of felt bad. I was like, did I suck at therapy?
No.
And they were like, no, you did a good job. It was fine.
No.
Everyone has their process. But after the fact, it was so amazing. And I did a couple sessions with her after, and I was able to open up more and get a little more deeper. And it was, if anything, it was the opposite. I felt more empowered. I felt validated in my issues and my concerns that have been weighting me, that have been making me feel terrible. It was so nice to finally let go of so much self-hate and so much weight on myself and so much regret, and to be able to finally move on with my life. So I tell people all the time that therapy is so key and so impactful. No matter what stage in the game you are, no matter how open you are, it's just so, I don't know. It's like losing the 20 pounds. Every time I go there, I feel like I'm losing 20 pounds. And
that's a good analogy of saying it that way. Yeah.
And it's fantastic, and we consistently build up again. So it's good to release that. But that was my next step of personal development that was so crucial to me. Yeah. So it was fantastic, and a lot of people in the comments were saying like, thank you for making this video. I sent this to my dad.
Happy.
I did, you know, it was dope. Like yeah, it was really cool to hear from the mental health community, and also like other people saying like my father's now going to be open up to it, and because it's real. Like men are holding on to so much.
Holding on way too much, and then they're scared to go to a therapist. That's why I applaud you. The reason why I'm sure you shut down is because I mean there was cameras.
There was cameras, yeah.
I mean when I went to the event of the media shoot for the Women's Expo, and even though I'm used to being in front of my camera, it was like lights, and it was just like, oh man, and I stuttered a lot, and I can't even imagine having a therapy session and cameras and there's people. Yeah. So it's a lot harder. So I don't blame you for
I appreciate that.
Especially if your experience, everybody deals with it differently. If I would have been in that situation, I think I would be like, I know I'll open up, but I'm gonna stutter a bit. I'm gonna struggle eventually. I'll open up because I'm used to it. But I understand why. Because the fact that you opened up afterwards privately.
Yeah.
That's like the key point is that you actually did it and you got something from it. And how much do you feel like, how many sessions do you feel like was needed for you? Because everybody's different. I want people to think like you don't need to do therapy forever. You can go off and on. You know, maybe you might need 2 or 3 and you're good.
Yeah, I did. I did like 3 sessions, and I felt like I was in a good place. And like it doesn't make sense to do it every 2 weeks. And then certain things happen in my life that like, oh, I very much need this. I very need to have this expert to talk to work through these feelings. This is one thing to have friends. Like everyone's trying their best, but they have their own issues. Like, but to have an expert that has been working in the game for years to be able to help you, that's just so impactful. It's a more productive way of dealing with your emotions and feelings. So I've been able to go to her and like talk to her when like things were like really getting dark or really getting challenging. And it's been fantastic. It's like such a phenomenally more productive way to dealing with the struggles or challenges in your life.
It is, and I'm gonna give you guys an example. Like imagine if you're investing $50 or $100 on a therapy session, it's the same thing as you investing $50 to $100 to a rave ticket.
A rave ticket. Oh my God, go to a rave.
A lot of people.
All my raver fans out there.
Because I rave,
do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
I rave since I was in 2007, and I noticed that I used it as a coping mechanism where I was like, "This is oh my God, everybody's accepting me here. Do you feel like you belong? And you feel like?" But in reality, it's because I never felt that outside of that scene.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I know a lot of people go to raves for different reasons. Sometimes they do it, they escape with drugs or they escape with the music. But everybody has their own motives depending on their trauma and what they've gone through and why they utilize raves. But as I've gotten older, I realized, wow, okay, yeah, first it started into a kind of the scene, and I love the whole projection of peace, love, unity, and respect. But then the more you do it, you kind of get lost and you're kind of like, why are you doing this? What are you chasing? And then I started figuring things out like, okay, so it's because I like this and it's because this is the only time or this. And I was like, no, I want to implement this in my regular life. So what I started doing slowly as I became more self-aware is I started looking at raving differently, where I started going sober, where I went in with a different mindset of like, I'm going here because I want to dance and I want to meet new people and I just want to be around people that like the same music and dance, because you hear it now at clubs, but it's different when you go to raves. It's just a different experience.
That's so real. I'm glad you brought that up, because I feel like our purchases are so like linked to our emotions and our escapes and everything else.
When we go to concerts too.
Yeah, when we go to concerts and
we go to football games.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole team aspects. We're cheering together.
Right.
We're rooting for the same team.
Exactly. Like I Uber Eats so much. Like and it was an escape. It was instant gratification.
Yes, it is. And it's easy too.
And it's hard for people to make the investment of something that's scary. It's very easy to make the investment of something that is like you enjoy or that's fantastic. It's like going to the gym with your gym membership. It's harder to go there versus you go to Wendy's and get a cheeseburger or whatever else. It's the same thing with like personal development, mental health. Is like you do have to make that step, and it's a scary step to make. So I applaud people when they do go there, because they easily could just go shopping, or they could go to the club or spend $100 at the bar over one weekend, and it could be these constant things that are just kind of like not an actual solution.
It's a temporary solution.
It's
a temporary solution. That's what I've noticed, because I don't want to also make people feel bad for clubbing, because it's cool if you guys want to do that. That's fun. But if you're doing it to escape,
that's the difference. It's more a thing to socialize and experience life. It's other thing like I need this just to stay happy. I need this to escape from the woes of my realities of everything else, and that's the thing that, you know, ultimately I don't want for people. So it's a big thing to take that step and to go do those things, and I think it's really impactful.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm gonna go to EDC this year.
Nice. I never went. I mean, it's so like I go to like music festivals and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, the EDC and all that, I'm like, whoa, this is next level right here.
I
will go eventually.
I always say to people that it's a one life experience that I think that you should experience at least one time.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the environment, because of the people. It's like a bunch of Elis. Like imagine a bunch of yous just quadrupled. Like
I don't know if I like that. I want a bunch of me's.
Of people that care.
Getting angry, all ordering Uber Eats. I'm just like, damn it.
I'm talking about the good part.
Like, the good part.
The part like when you're happy, when you're like outgoing.
Yeah,
you're in a
fun.
good mood. That's how everybody is, sober or not. There's the people that are sober. I've had people ask some of my friends like, "What are you on?" And then he's like, "Me, I'm sober." And he has the X because he's straight edge
What
and all
are you
that.
on? Me. I like that. That's a good line.
Yes.
I like that. Me.
All right, so the next question I have for Eli is, do you still have the same perspective towards mental health as you did as an adult as you are now? And I think we kind of already answered that question.
Yeah.
That you feel like now you're more open, but back in the day it's just not talked about, which is very common.
Yeah, it was not talked about. Like, it was interesting. Like, as a kid, you just don't know anything, and you're not around people that know it either, so you're just kind of stumbling through it all. And then in my early 20s, I was making a lot of mistakes and like really kind of hating myself for them. And then, like, as the years kind of went on and I got to kind of develop mental health, personal development, all these other things, I'm like, I got to realize, okay, why am I taking these actions? Why am I making these habits? What is it doing for me? Where is it coming from? I'm able to really dissect myself. And I think that idea sounds like outlandish of personal development, mental health, all those things. But it's like it's just tools to live a better life.
It is, yeah.
And I've never been happier. I never like it, and it's a constant journey. It's never like, I'm happy now and I'm confident, yay. No, it's very much like a journey of it all. You're just finding and creating tools and knowing the knowledge to like be more productive. And when I like talk to guys about it, I'm like, you got to think like when I talk about like business or I talk about growing your social media or whatever else, I always put a personal development angle into it as well, where it's like you've got to know how you work. You got to know the emotional angle. How are you attached to this? What is holding you back? And it's like all this is going to lead to just bigger business, bigger opportunities, bigger connections. And if I didn't do the self-hype thing, if I didn't go on this journey, there's no way I would have the revenue streams that I have now. So like for the people who are more number savvy, it all leads back to like ultimately living a more comfortable, healthy life. Yeah,
it does. Because you could easily self-destruct, you guys.
Oh yeah.
Very easily, depending on your foundation.
Yeah.
What you're saying. The other question I have for him is, what other coping skills and interventions do you implement that helps you in a healthy manner? I wanted to put unhealthy manner too, but I wasn't sure if you wanted to go into that. Like,
interesting.
My unhealthiness is maybe when I go drink or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, that's true. Yeah.
The good and the bad, because
so my skills to stop me or to help me from what was the question again? Sorry.
Well, because I always talk about interventions and coping skills, and intervention and coping skills are literally just coping mechanism and techniques that we do, like therapy, going hiking, maybe. You like bugs and you like to collect bugs. It's relaxing. I don't know. There's some people that like that. Or you want to, just like that. Like there's certain interventions. For me, I could give an example. I guess an intervention for me, I've always said, is music. Like when I feel like shit, I just listen to music.
I like that.
And then I'm okay afterwards. That's my go-to.
Yeah, I would say music is very impactful for me as well. Like I could get really lost in music, get really inspired in music. When I make my films, it's all like comes from songs usually. Like the inspiration kind of comes from there. But yeah, I would say music. Also say like honestly, going on a walk is so nice. Like I go on walks and I find new businesses, new bakeries, new little things in my neighborhood every day. It's like I do different routes and I keep finding new things, and I'm like, it's so nice. Like I always tell the old people walking in the morning, I'm like, how would they do that? And now I'm like, it's phenomenal. Like it's like such a way to just clear out everything, like to walk.
It is.
And then I do meditations. Working out is huge for me. If I need a center and I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling down, like that's such a good pick me up of working out. But yeah, usually I would say feeding my gut, healthy things and what it needs.
So that's another intervention.
Yeah, feeding my mind with like meditation and being centered with myself, and then my body physically of like working out. Like I know if I do those three things, I will eventually feel better.
A lot better.
Yeah, a lot better. So, and then also I think of like cognitive connection, where like when I do those things, or I am drinking, or like I'm like, why am I on Tinder right now? I don't need to do this. Like it's like this is just like I'm meeting people that I don't care to meet, spending money that I don't need to spend, and calories drinking that I don't need to gain. And so it's like, so certain aspects of like me growing up, I've been able to kind of say like, okay, how am I gonna feel after I do this? Like, what is that feeling like? Like, really kind of dive into, because we feel it all the time. Like, when we go get that drink or we do those things, and we hate ourselves. We get mad at ourselves. We get disappointed in ourselves. And then it's like, what is it going to feel like if you did the opposite, or if you didn't do those things, or if you didn't like? And then it's like, oh, you feel great. You feel motivated. You're happy. You're proud of yourself. So I really kind of dive into those feelings and kind of build that kind of cognitive connection towards that action, where that helps me to be like, oh no, I don't want to do that, because then that in turn makes me feel this way. So yeah, that's kind of how I like to do it. And also with like trying new things, or like going for a new job, or like, you know, taking a chance on something. It's like that the action of that is such a positive cognitive connection versus not doing something.
That's true.
And that is just such a negative. So it's like, I know how that feels and I don't want to feel that. So that kind of helps me too.
To differentiate what's good and what's bad. But what example would you give an example of bad coping mechanism?
Bad coping mechanism. I would, drinking.
That's the main go-to one that we all do. That's the thing.
Yeah, I like drinking for sure. Like Latin family, we like drinking, and it gets to the point of like social, and then it gets to the point of like I'm just drinking because I'm bored or I'm sad or whatever else by myself, and then you feel terrible the next day, and it ruins your next day. So drinking, always kind of been one for me. And then dating was always one. It's like, oh, I get to escape and like get to know someone, and it's like that's fun.
Yeah, that's true.
So like that was a big issue like in my earlier 20s and everything else. It's just like, oh yeah, I want to go find some ladies and date and like do those things, and it was very much like an escape, but also it was like, oh, I'm valued, and like, oh, if I could win someone over, I'm like, oh, you like me, someone likes me, I feel valuable, my ego is now, but it's like I shouldn't need that validation from a stranger. I should, find that within myself. So
that's why a lot of people tend to cheat.
There you go.
It's just that ego of the nest. Oh, can I get it?
Can I
do
get
it? Do I still got it?
And that's my big thing too. Is like I was single all throughout college for that reason. Of like, I don't want to be the dad pushing the cart and pushing the stroller in a park like this, and I see a hot woman run by, and I'm like, damn, I'm just sad. I'm like, damn, my life sucks. I want to be able to look at that woman. I'm like, I had a good time, and then I keep strolling. I'm completely happy with my life. I did everything I wanted to do. And I'm like, I'm ready. Like, that's what I like. I seen so many dads who are like, oh man, if I could just get one more, like, give me my good years back. I'm like, I don't want to live in that regret. Like, I want to be so ready for that moment of like family and kids and everything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, hubba.
The thing that kind of sucks though, sometimes I try to motivate people that are like that. Like, even though you are old, and if you don't want to be, like, I feel bad for a person that doesn't want to leave that relationship, even though they're in their 40s, like, where they feel like, why not just? But I guess it's just a factoring of the kids and all that stuff. And
like mortgage, kids, life, families. It's like so much pressure.
Oh, the divorce. That's what I'm thinking in my head, because when I watched the movie, The Marriage Story on Netflix. Some of you, you have to watch it. It taught me so much about divorce, just the process and the money. So I know one of the things I used to always say, I don't want to get married because if I get divorced, fudge that. That's going to be so much. It's going to cost me more money to get a divorce than get married.
Jeez, so it's true. Just have a love party and get rings from Target. Like it's the same. It's fine. You don't need a lawyer for that. Like you could do a domestic partnership. Do domestic partnership. That's my thing. It's like, why do I need a lawyer? Like, how much love is this? I don't hate on anyone. Get married. Do your thing.
The lawyer pays the whole woman. Like, if let's say we're getting a divorce, your lawyer would have to pay for my. You are supposed to pay for my lawyer.
I have to pay for your lawyer?
Yes.
I'm not getting married.
And that's how the law works.
What?
Regardless. So
why would anyone get married? Whatever. If you want to get married, sure. I'm not going to get married, but you can go get married. But yeah, I'm like, nah, I'm good.
And I was so upset up for the guy. I was like, what?
Why the hell do I...
When I told my brother that, he's like, oh yeah, I already know that because my my friend already went through all that. You know, a lot of
What
military
happened to
people get married.
We need to put some equality in this sense. Like,
That's
women
not
are
fair.
making money too now.
That's not fair.
It's not like,
Yes.
you know,
Oh,
you're
that's
just
probably
chilling.
why.
Yeah.
I was thinking in my
like,
head, like, why do they do that? It's probably because they assume
Yeah,
that the men
back
make
in the
the
day.
money and women don't.
women making more money than us now. What the heck? Jeez, that's crazy.
That is fair equality.
That's
you
fair
see?
equality. Pay for your own lawyer. This is ridiculous.
I didn't agree with that either. So that to me was very surprising and very good movie to watch. It's very educational.
I'm gonna check that out.
You
Yeah.
should. Yeah, it made me cry. It's probably gonna make you cry. There's a lot of guys watched it that reviewed it on YouTube. They're like, I never cried in movies, and that movie just really got to me. Because a lot of guys actually were saying, you know, I kind of went through the same thing with my parents. Because there's a boy there, you know, there's a boy in between, there's a divorce and all that. And it's a pretty good movie.
It's hard, and that's why the communication's so important. Like I've seen so many bad examples of what a bad relationship looks like. Like my growing up, like going into like in my adulthood and relationships, I knew everything what not to do, not what to do. I didn't know what like a marriage looked like, and it was like a big issue for me. So it's like now I kind of changed my psyche of like wanting to be ready with open communication, with personal development of everything else. Because I'm like, if we're gonna get divorced, we're gonna do it in a very healthy way. Like that's
in the movie they try to do that. Like watch it.
Damn, I gotta watch it now. Or I'm just not gonna get divorced. Yeah, I'm not gonna get married.
Just
That's
watch
not
it.
have to
Just
worry
watch
about
it. It's such a good movie because they're really you feel for both of them.
Oh, okay.
You don't pick sides. You feel for both. You really do. Yeah. Okay, so the other question I have for Eli, we're almost done, is how does your current occupation affect your mental health?
Oh, interesting. It is so. Yeah, so it's LA. We all have side hustles and everything else. So it's like I have my full-time job making PeroLike videos, which is fun. It's rewarding. It's fantastic. And then I get to make my own personal content, which is my social media content. I do videos. I'm building online courses. I'm doing speaking engagements, and also I'm a filmmaker. So that's a whole thing in itself. I'm a film director, freelance in that sense, and also make my own projects. So it's a lot of different things happening all at the same time, and it's easy to feel overworked. It's easy to feel insecure about it all. It's easy to compare yourself to others. And it's like every day you got to wake up and do the grind, and it's like some days you just don't feel like doing it, and some days you're like, is this going to be worth it? So it's I think about like living back in Northwest Indiana and managing a GameStop, and like the one thing I care about is if the Bears win on Sunday. And I'm like, there's so many people I know that live like that, and it's so simple, and they're around their family and everything else. So like I struggle with that, but I know in my hearts of hearts I could never live that life. Like I need to be busy and I need to do all these things. So it's a constant journey and process of reminding myself that like I'm doing great. I've gone far through my own personal journey. Look how much have I progressed. And trying not to get lost in like the loneliness of Los Angeles, the overwork of Los Angeles, and the comparison culture, the competition and comparison culture, and just really appreciating my journey, and like, because it's a balance, right? There's like, oh, I'm doing so great, but you also need the motivation of like, oh, I need to keep progressing and do more. I know what my level of success is. I know what that looks like. And that's what I need to achieve. Even though right now I'm living a pretty fantastic life. My grandfather was wearing potato sacks in Puerto Rico. To now, I get to be in LA and talk to you and do this video and like connect with people online. It's a beautiful life to live. So it's like you kind of have to remind yourself that, but also then motivate yourself. This is like this duality of balance. So, but some days are weighted more than others. So like so mental health wise, yeah, it's very much like me having to learn to pull back and to relax and to live my personal life and to be okay of not doing anything sometimes, because it could be overwhelming.
Because I think we get stuck on sometimes us feeling like we have to be doing what everybody else is doing in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like, well, everybody's doing this, they're going down here, well, then I'm not participating. And sometimes you kind of feel bad.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, in a sense of like, okay, well, this is not me, and I don't want to do this, but I'm going to continue to do this, and it's okay, because I'm okay with that, with me having to go do walks instead of going to X, Y, and Z place. Or
No, exactly. It's so yeah, it's a lot of that. Like I'll go for those walks, which I like a couple years ago I probably wouldn't go on walks. Like, no, I got to work, I got to take advantage of every minute of every day.
You need the walks for clarity, man.
You need the walks.
Because I feel you. Sometimes when I'm like editing, and then my family will be like, they'll tell me let's do this, and I'm like, no, I gotta edit. Like, and then once I'm out, and I'm like, Jesus, I'm glad I'm out. Like, I get what they're saying.
It's important. Like I did a vision board with my sisters, and I was cutting up stuff, and I saw this line, and it says, "If you snooze, you win." And it's like, I love that. And it's like, I put that on the board, and it kind of sticks with me to this day of yeah, you snooze, you win. It's okay to take care of yourself, to sleep. You're going to be more creative if you take care and rest your mind. And so those walks are so impactful and important that, because we think we got to hustle. But yeah, it's very much like, I listen to podcasts of self-made billionaires, and consistently enough, like they spend like an hour just thinking. Like they'll do nothing but just think.
Literally wandering your mind.
Yeah.
That's what Joe Rogan talks about, that it's important that kids need to be bored.
Yeah.
Be bored.
You gotta be bored.
Be bored.
That's pretty fantastic. I love that. Yeah, to be
go
bored. Go be bored.
Go explore your mind.
Yeah.
Go walk around.
And I was telling you, I love that. And I was telling you about Sarah Blakely, like she created Spanx, Self-Made Billionaire. Before she comes home, she just drives around her neighborhood for 45 minutes and just thinks.
You see?
Like, yeah, that's like with herself. She's just completely with herself and just thinks.
Yeah, because I don't walk, but what I've noticed is that I used to dislike being in my car for long periods of times because I would drive to clients. And so I'm in my car for like 45 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, maybe an hour and a half in traffic. And there's times where, I'll turn off the radio and it's just me.
Yeah.
My thoughts. And it's, for me, it's relaxing.
Yeah.
And I got so used to it that now when I have people in the car, I'm just like, oh, I was like, especially on road trips, it's kind of hard.
Oh, yeah, that's the road
But
trips.
I'm assuming maybe cops deal with that same stuff too, unless they have a side person.
True.
Or they have
Makes sense.
But yeah, that's how I do it too. I don't
Nice.
walk, but I'm in the car driving around, and I find things. I find little stores, or I see neighborhoods. And I'm like,
Nice.
wow, this is pretty. I didn't know this existed, and I was this far away from here. Like this restaurant too. Dang, it's really nice exploring driving. I really encourage people to drive around or walk, like what Eli is saying.
Yeah.
And just get lost.
Take time with yourself. I think
Yeah.
that's the big thing, is like take time with yourself. I remember like by being bored and alone in my teen years and everything else, it's like it brought up so much like imagination and so much thought-provoking things, and like and I think about that. I'm like, I need to just lay on the ground in my room and look at the ceiling and just do that.
Yeah.
Like that alone is, I think, is so impactful, because we never really take time to check in with ourselves.
And a lot of the times some people are kind of scared to be alone.
Yeah.
They don't like to be alone because they're kind of depending on their environment, depending on how they were raised. Being alone is a scary thing. Like there has to be some type of music or type of interaction where they feel alive, which I think it's a coping mechanism. So you guys have to kind of think about it. Like, okay, well, maybe let me challenge myself and let me do stuff on my own so that I don't have to depend on a group with me all the time.
Right.
Because we can't always depend on people. We have to depend on ourselves, like we always say.
Exactly.
So.
Nice.
Okay, so second to last one is, if you could go back in time at any year, what will you tell yourself and why?
Oh.
Because I always think about that, like, I wish I could go and then just tell yourself that.
Man. Let's see. Jesus. Honestly, like as hard as like my childhood upbringing was, like, and lonely as it was, it very much made me who I am, which I appreciate.
So we have to appreciate those bad times.
So I appreciate the bad times. I would tell myself at 18, being very eager to go to this private school and art school in Chicago, I was like, this shit's gonna be really expensive, and you just have a couple jobs. Yeah, because like no one tells you. Like it's a big issue. It's crazy how
it's a different culture, because you're going into low income to a higher income school.
Low income to higher income school, and like none of my family knows about education. They don't know about the college process. So I'm 18 just signing stuff, not knowing what, like, okay, this is how much it costs to go to school. How can I go there? I sign this. Okay, cool. I was just a duh about it. And my mom was mad at me because I even wanted to go to film school. So she was like, whatever. She would sign and then whatever. Go, whatever. I don't even want to look at it. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm dealing with all this stuff. And so I would kind of sit myself down. I'm like, I know you're super eager, but let's game plan this a little more smarter. So, because like that's the big thing, and I think a lot of people deal with, that I want to hit on, is this like the massive college debt issue with everyone, and I think it really hinders us from taking chances in life. And that's what kind of stifled me for so many years, because I was a person that took chances, and I was like, now I'm stuck. Now I can't do anything. But it's carrying that debt and knowing that you could still live a life, and you could still build revenue streams, and you could still, explore and travel and do those things. And my traveling has never stopped. So there's definitely ways to do it, and that's a big thing I want to tell people as well, because I think it's this like new age like slavery to.
It is. It's a new age of slavery.
It's a new age of keeping people in line. So
to not buy a home, like I feel like that's. I mean, I know this is another reason that I used in my mind. I was like, I can't get married because if we're seen as one, then the loan is going to be higher, or
yeah, that's right.
You don't get the same type of assistance if you're known as a single mother.
Oh yeah.
You get more help if you're a single mother.
Right. That's right.
So there's loopholes that I try to.
Man, take advantage. I mean,
and
millionaires, like the billionaires, are taking advantage of it. Why can't I? I want to take advantage of loophole too. Damn it!
So I took advantage of that loophole,
Yeah.
and but then it stopped me from. That was the reason when people were, well, I'm sorry, if we are together, then it's his loan. I that's my loan.
Yeah.
I just kind of took it as that's my loan.
Yeah.
It's just like, and if we do get together, then I don't know what I said. I think we would have to start paying. The payments would just be more higher.
Wow.
Because we're double in income.
Damn. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that kind of screwed me in getting like financial aid and support because it was my stepdad's income and my mom's income. My stepdad wasn't supporting me in any way, and my mom didn't have a lot of money, but they count it. So it's like
same thing happened to my sister.
So I was like, yeah, I wasn't really getting anything. So it's that weird kind of get screwed over in a lot of ways. So, but overall, like, I always try to tell people, like, don't ever think a space or a person or a situation is bigger than you. Like, you are valuable, you deserve to give value and be in the spaces that you're passionate about, and to not be intimidated and to live your life. So that was a big thing that I had to get through. And it would have been nice to sit myself down and been like, hey, kid, let's do this in a smart way, and maybe not go to Thailand for a month on Obama bucks at 22. Because your one aunt that went to college said, oh, everyone's in debt, you'll pay it back, whatever. So that would probably be the biggest thing, because I think those were the couple years ago that really stifled me from taking chances. But that was also a big thing that I had a big hump that I had to go through to be where I'm at today.
Yeah, that's what's interesting, because I kind of I've experienced the same thing.
Yeah,
in a sense of debt. But I appreciate the people I met there, because if it wasn't for them, I would have never done the channel.
Yeah.
So the teacher that I met there is the one that motivated me.
Nice.
And started this whole, like, you should do it. Like, you're really passionate. And
nice.
I was like, oh, okay. And then I got into it, and he's like, you see, I didn't know you were going to turn to this. Oh, my God. I never knew I liked it this much either.
That's awesome. And you were fantastic. I love this whole conversation with all the greenery.
Yes.
I'm glad we got this amazing background.
I know, yeah, I'm glad too. I'm glad you suggested this idea. I think if we would have gone to Pasadena, it would have been too hard. There would have been no place to sit because it's more walking. And although there's a very beautiful waterfall that I have not seen, it would have been nice. But nah, it's way too much.
Nice.
But now we're going to do our last question.
Okay.
And so the last question for him is, what is one mental health tip you give to someone who is interested in doing your occupation as a career?
I love that question.
Yes.
You are good and passionate and great at this. Let me think. So one mental health thing I would out of practice with this position. So the internet doesn't sleep, and being at BuzzFeed, we're in a constant state of, we don't celebrate wins. If we do, it's very quick, and we have to make the next thing. So you're consistently moving a ball up a hill that will never kind of go over. And
that's true.
Like working internet, that's essentially it. Like and so it's a hard thing to deal with, and it's a hard thing to go through, especially when the numbers are low and like you're around people that may be like succeeding more or whatever else. But I would say just understand that, like, in your life personally and like in digital content, everything's in beta. Like everything is testing, everything will change, everything will manifest into different things, including yourself, your perspective, and also the content and how it's received. So if maybe you're not hitting right now, it's just we're all works in project. We're all works in progress. And so like to tweak and to see that you're really creating human connection through storytelling, and that really comes down to you and knowing yourself and who are you in the story that you're telling. So that's why I say like personal development is just, and mental health is just so full encompassing of your entire life, so it will affect your job and your work ethic as well.
It will.
So I would say that, like, to have that perspective going into it and knowing that these numbers are human beings, and in order to really connect with another person, you have to connect with yourself more. So take time with yourself and exercise a lot of things that we've talked about. And everything is beta, and there's no rules in this game. So probably big thing.
Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah, don't be so hard on yourself, essentially.
Don't be so hard on yourself. I remember me messaging one time like, how do I do this? And when I thought about it, I was like, well, it's not, I'm being so dramatic. Like, it's not that big a deal. Like, it is a big deal, but it's like, it's something where you could kind of process it and realize, like, okay, it's not about you.
Yeah.
Like, don't take it so personal, though.
Exactly.
Don't
Like,
take it so personal.
I'll do speaking engagements. I did like a positive mindset workshop. Like I'm just now getting into the game of doing this, and so it's really nerve wracking. I'm like, oh my god, these people. How am I going to look? Am I going to look stupid? I'm going to say something wrong. There's like 300 people here. What am I? Oh my god, they're coming here to see me, and then it's like it's so much me. When it just like you have to change your mindset to like, how can I give as much value as I can to the people that like are here? Like, it's not about me, it's helping other people. So what do I want to say? What do I want to give? What I want to share so they have the best experience possible. And after like I shifted my mindset, I think I heard it from Bob Proctor. It was a podcast he was on. Is like, just like, don't think we look so much at ourselves and our ego and everything else. It's like, how can we give on the biggest impact possible? And that will just help you because it's selfless. It motivates you. We want to help other people. We want to like have a positive like point and reference in this life, and it's just a way more motivating angle to look at it, I think, when doing anything. So it's important.
I guess one question that I would add on to that is, because I've heard some people say that when we're constantly giving, especially through social media, and we're providing value, some people may argue that like that's still selfish because we're kind of trying to fulfill a void that we're not filling in within ourselves.
Interesting.
And then I kind of thought about it. I was like, I guess, but what you're saying is, which is important, is if you focus on yourself, it won't turn into that, because it's very easily it can turn into that, where you're so giving and you want other people to succeed, but what about you?
Right.
What about you?
I think it's the validation. I mean, it's the validation of being able to help people. Like I was scared as hell to make my first video on Instagram, like my self-hype video. I've done BuzzFeed videos where I'm like cracking jokes, eating food, but it's something about like diving into who I am that's real to me. Like that was scary, and but it was seeing the positive reinforcement. Not only like, hey, this video is great, but also getting DMs of like, hey, that really helped me today, and like that is the motivational factor of that, and of course. But through that process, I'm going through, it's therapy for me. Like the things that I'm sharing, I'm passionate about, but also I'm getting a lot out of it just by expressing myself in this way. So it's very healthy. Like I am getting something out of it. It is, and it's all ego at some point. I'm sure it's very hard to break away from that.
Supposedly it's kind of selfishness for us to.
But like that's anyone. Like if someone gives millions of dollars to like some relief effort, you know, you're helping millions of people. But like I'm like, that was me. I'm like. I mean, we all want to feel good as well. We're human beings, first off. But the fact that we're being able to see a problem in the world and try to fix it, I'll take that over, you know, just not having any real voice, not having any authentic brand, they're not trying to fix anything in the world. Like, I don't know. It inspires me that I'm trying to help people and I connect with human beings through my own personal perspective of self-hype, self-improvement. So it's very rewarding. So for myself, and then because I get to help others, I think there's this human connection of it all that I think, you know, is what makes it worthwhile. So
it is, yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah, I always say like the person who like does the twerk photos, which, hey, you're providing a service too, entertainment, and we're all providing a service in some ways. But you very much so you have those influencers that are like, yeah, I just post like positive vibes and like lifestyle, and like all that. I'm like, whatever, dude. Okay, you have no say in whatever. It's like body positive, hashtag body positive, but it's really just you just showing yourself off. And I'm like, there's no real message here. But each to their own.
That's why it's important that whenever if you decide to follow the social media and try to build your own brand or just build a business, is to make sure that you are authentic to yourself. Because I've seen a lot of poor young girls that I've seen on YouTube that they're 19 and 20 and saying how they build their audience on their own by being themselves, but then as soon as they got caught up in the LA and then they start turning into these girls that they think they need to, and then they lose themselves and then they feel depressed and then they're sad and it's like
I'm anxiety now.
And then but I'm glad that they're putting out videos and showing that so that other people that do want to follow their lead and putting videos to not hopefully learn from her experience or other influencers' experiences, that being you is the best thing that you can do to stay happy.
Exactly.
And if you choose to copy or model other people's behaviors, just make sure that it's still because you're choosing to do so and because it makes you happy the healthy way, not because, oh, I'm doing this because they're doing it and it makes me happy because now they like me, when you need to like yourself.
Exactly.
So
and it shows. It
does.
Like I always tell people like, oh, you have your followers. They say, oh, you have your followers because of BuzzFeed, which like I worked at BuzzFeed for 3 years, and I only got like 10,000 followers through the 3 years of being in videos. And the minute I shifted my Instagram into just sharing my personal journey and showing myself of who I really am, I jumped to like 26K in 6 months. So that was just like through just that shifting of that, being yourself, being authentic, but in your own voice. Like understanding the need of the spaces that you're in and what you're in, but being real to the content that you're delivering, I think is so important and impactful. That's what I really push when it comes to like branding, for business people, CEOs, entrepreneurs, or just people that want to like be an influencer. That's what it really comes down to, is just document your journey in a way that feels real to you. That's authentic. And yeah.
By showing the journey, people,
it's as easy as that.
Motivates. It's very motivational, and it also reminds you that we're the same.
We're the same. We're all people.
The same.
It's so funny because like people come up to me at events now and they're like volunteering or whatever. Like, hi, Eli, I seen you in PeroLike videos. Like, I wonder if we could get coffee or something like that. Like, do you have any advice? And I'm like, no one knows what they're doing. Like, I'm letting you know right now. Like, you probably see everyone. Like, because I'm friends with Curly. I'm friends with everybody. And like we look cool because we're just on stage and we just won an award. But I'm talking to these people. And they don't know what the hell's going on either. Like, oh, I hope I get this script made. Oh, I hope I get this gig. We're like, we don't know what the hell. No one knows what the hell they're doing. Like, even the person that looks like they know what they're doing. We're all just taking chances and figuring it out. So that's what I tell people. It's like, and the person that tries to act like they're perfect, they're the most lost. And because I love the authentic, like, if you could talk to me, I want you to see me who I am as a person, like, and that's real. Because and that's the thing. I want to see the journey of it. Like, I want you to see my highs and lows. I want you to see that I'm having a bad day. Like, I was about to launch a personal development course, and I was having a terrible day. And I went on live, and I'm like, I'm very sad right now. And I'm about to promote like personal development, live your best life, and I'm like depressed. But yet, like, this one of the people that ended up joining the course, she left me this like beautiful long message of just like, thank you for being open and real with us, and it really shows that, like, validates me that it's okay for me to have a bad day too. Because usually everyone, like, you see the posts, everyone's living their best lives, you don't know the context outside of the square, and like everyone's human beings that you're scrolling through. We're all human beings posting things. So I don't know, I try to be as real as I can, but also like trying to look cute sometimes. So that's ego. So.
Well, thank you, Eli. I appreciate that you were honest and you shared a lot of information. I hope that this could be an impactful feeling and moment for you.
This was fantastic. This really was. You really let me go back down some roads that I kind of needed to dust off. I really needed to dust off and see, like, oh, look how far I came and why I am the way I am and everything else, like, from that foundation. I don't think I've told really anyone that I punched myself in the face as a kid. So
honestly, it's very common. You're not alone.
Okay, well, and that's great because I share that and now I feel validated versus me feeling like a crazy person. So
I've noticed that it's kind of common with men.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, interesting.
And I don't know if it's because you guys watched it in wrestling.
Maybe, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know what to do.
Or a genetic thing, because I've known people that have done it and then the child does it. No one has ever taught the person, but then they do it.
Interesting.
It's interesting. And then I was like, no one, because I'll ask, investigate, and I was like, or if I know for sure, I was like, yeah, they've never seen this before and they're doing it on their own.
That's wild. So yeah, these conversations are so healthy, and then ultimately what I want is more people to have these conversations, especially in our community, to be more open. Because we talked about it when we first walked up here, is like, we deserve to have intellectual thought, we deserve to have deeper thinking, we deserve to have curiosity and the curiosity within ourselves. So that's the big thing I want to promote. And I want to thank you because you're so phenomenal. You're so good at this. You are so passionate. I love this conversation. I feel so at ease. I feel so refreshed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I try.
Appreciate you. My goodness.
Awesome
sunglasses.
Oh, thanks.
Very, very nice.
I don't know where I got them, but all right. Well, thank you guys. Please do not forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like this video and go and check out Eli. I know some of you guys already know, but if not, go check him out. His posts are amazing. I think he's a big influence. I for sure for men. Like, I love the fact that he is honest about his emotions, especially about crying, because coming from my experience and then coming from a very huge family of a lot of men, it's still very stigmatized with crying.
It is.
And we have a long journey to break that crying aspect.
And I love it. Yeah, it takes all of us to, express ourselves in the ways that we're passionate about, use those tools to, change things And but yeah, thank you all so much. My handle is at Eli Vazquez, all through my social. Get your daily dose of self-hype. Also, I have a personal development course. It's an 8-week online course. So it's all things that I learned through social media to hack my personal life and personal development. So if you're a business owner wanting to grow your following, if you're just looking for self-love, positive improvement, it's all the steps and guides to create my own social brand and to build authenticity and grow online community. So if you're interested in that, check it out. At me, DM me, or DM me and say hi.
Yeah. Start a conversation. That's how I did with Eli.
Exactly. And look at us now.
With the therapy one is how we connected, and I was like, yay, someone's doing this. So don't be shy and take risk, like Eli says, and don't give up. That's the main thing.
Yes.
Don't give up on yourself and your dreams and your passions. Okay. So thank you again, and I'll talk to everybody later. Bye.
Bye.
I think all of us should have a hobby of some kind. If they like to play, get them a good instrument and play. You don't have to try to make a living out of it, just play.